Hey everybody, it's your girl Sherry. Welcome back to Alleged Actually. Y'all, I have been waiting since Thursday night to get on here on today and talk to you all about the Real Housewives of Orange County. Listen, y'all, Thursday's episode, I have to say, was epic. And let me just say this, guys. I think I have a new favorite housewife on Real Housewives of Orange County. I have a new fave. Jen did her big one. Matter of fact, let me just share a little clip and then we're gonna get right on into this recap. Bear with me just a second, honey. It's so good. I gotta watch it again and again and again. Listen. Here we go. Let's make it big.
You did a background check on Ryan?
No, what are you talking about?
You did.
Swear to God on my kid's life, I did not.
No, I just saw it with my own eyes. And this is what I don't understand with you. You want to go on and you want to talk about my fake You want to talk about my
tell me
dresses.
what you're talking about it.
You did a background check on Ryan.
Show it to me.
I already saw it. You don't get to do this anymore. You are like throwing around FBI. You're throwing around all this Tamra, and it just you.
Wait. That's not what happened.
Y'all, I had to just give you a snippet. Y'all, that was epic. Listen, I think that Miss Jen has solidified herself. She ain't going nowhere. I never thought she was, but y'all, after Thursday night, ma'am, sirs, I'm a fan. All right, guys, before we quickly get into this recap, let me just ask, if you haven't yet, go ahead and hit the like button. Go ahead and share, hit subscribe, hit that notification bell so you'll be the first to know when I go live or when I drop a video. And y'all got to talk back to me today. We got to get into this episode, so slide in these comments. All right, guys. So listen, the episode opens up with Heather and Tamra getting ready. And Heather calls out to Tamra because, they're sharing a room, and tells her there's a place near the Mayfair where they're all staying where they can get fish and chips, and that place will make them go poop. Y'all, that was a thing on this episode. I mean, listen, if we can all be honest, sometimes when you travel, it's kind of like slows things down in that area or whatnot. But those ladies were struggling trying to have some regular bathroom time. So, yeah. So it opens up with that. And then Emily and Shannon are in their room having some room service for breakfast. And Emily says that Shannon seems sad. No, really? Why wouldn't she be sad, Emily? After y'all blasted her on her birthday dinner the night before, but okay. And she doesn't like to see Shannon sad. And Shannon says, look, I wish I could be the kind of person that just lets things rolls off of her. But she says last night was unexpected. And especially since she had just said at the beginning of the dinner that she wanted to have a fun night. Y'all, they flash back to the scene of it being anything but a fun night. All that hollering between Tamra, Heather exposing her secret, Tamra laughing at her when she tries to walk away. I mean, a mess. You hear me? So Shannon says it's just hard for her to be like, oh, I felt attacked last night. I know, y'all. Let's all go get on a bus. Shannon says she's done trying to explain herself. She doesn't need to, and especially not to Tamra Judge. And I agree, Shannon. I would be over that as well. So Tamra and Katie, they are over at the spa, and they get a chance to sit on this heated rock chair, which looked really cool. Tamra says she has one at home. Katie was like, oh, you do? And she was like, yeah, it's called a sex chair. Goodbye. Bye, Tamra. We don't care. We don't care. And quiet as it's kept, things that I'm hearing out there in them streets may be that you don't need one. At least not for Eddie. But more to follow on that. And so Katie said she should get Matt one for his birthday. All right, Katie. Katie brings up the dinner and she says there's just one thing that she wants to ask. She just doesn't understand why Shannon can't sit and talk. It's like she gets super emotional. Well, yeah, when you have somebody, calling you a liar every time you sit down and try to take a bite of food, or someone constantly calling you out, yeah, it would be hard to not be emotional. But at any rate, Tamara explains that that's why she's pulled away from her. She can't take accountability for what she's saying. And they flash back to Shannon saying, people want me to say I borrowed $75,000 and I didn't. And Tamara's saying, well, these are your words, that he said, maybe you can take a low interest loan. And you said, well, you have money. And then Emily chimes in saying, Shannon, that's it. You just called it a loan now. Y'all, that was ridiculous. I have said that, it did come across as a little her talking out of both sides of her neck. She did seem caught off guard. The Watch What Happens live episode when they talked about it. But I digress. Katie said here's one thing. If I'm struggling with to pay my bills, which she says that she claims that she had been, and that she couldn't pay her Amex bill. And Tamara says, yeah, she's always struggling. Well, Katie says, then why would I get plastic surgery? Now, y'all, I like Katie, but Katie started off now as being Shannon's friend. So why is Katie now sitting with Tamara talking mess, asking, about her plastic surgery, why she would say she doesn't have any money? Listen, Katie, I like you. I want you to stay. Now, you came in for Heather. That didn't land. Watch yourself, and certainly don't align yourself with Tamara. But anyway, Tamara goes, exactly. And in confessional, Tamara says that Shannon lives way beyond her means. She throws money around as if she's a multimillionaire, and she's not. And they flash back to Shannon giving the ladies the gifts with the Burberry scarves and the bucket hat. Y'all, good gracious. I mean, it's not like Shannon's broke. And honey, listen, just because you don't want to pay somebody back, or I won't even say pay somebody back, just because when you're in a relationship with a guy and you have paid for things for him and now he's paid for things and you don't want to give that money back, does not make you broke. It means that you don't want to give that $75,000 to that man, and especially not that man with his little bimbo that's in your face every 5 minutes in your business, calling you a liar and whatnot. So anyway, so Tamara says all she's thinking about is her retirement, meaning herself, Tamara, and that she puts all her money in the bank. Child, not Miss looking like the Terror Dome with all that CO2 skin treatment that she had done, looking crazy on there, crying about Vicky telling about when how she should just get off the show because her daughter didn't want anything to do with her. And she's up there crying. Listen, ma'am, you get your fair share of procedures done as well. So let's don't do that. And that means you're not putting all your money in your bank account and all you're thinking about is your retirement. And if the way you perform this season, if that's any indication of how you want to keep your job, I don't know. Katie says, well, I've been there when I was a single mother and that was not great. And Tamara says, well, yeah, Katie, but you weren't 60. And Katie says, no, I was 29. So over at the spa with Gina and Jen, they're by a pool area, and Jen tells Gina that she feels this is very New York. And Gina says, yeah, I'm comfortable here. And she says, this is giving me like Manhattan vibes. Gina says, but I also feel like, I didn't have to go this far to kind of get this whole Manhattan vibe thing. And Jen agrees and says same. And Gina said, what happened last night? Or Jen says to Gina, what happened last night? I didn't even know you were leaving. And she tells Jen that Shannon showed her the text messages that she got from Alexis years ago that literally, specifically said that everything that you and Tamara have said in the media, and this is from Alexis, since our divorce, talking about her and Jim Bellino, are lies. And it says, we will be getting an attorney and we will be suing you. And she did not send that to her. And that she did actually send that to her. And Jen looks shocked and says, what? And Gina says, yeah, that totally confirms. And Jen interrupts and says, well, did she send it to Tamara? And Gina says, yes. And Gina says, no one has heard about it. Gina says she can't believe Tamara sat across from that table knowing that Shannon is telling the truth and instead chooses to attack her for lying. Yep, so little Miss Thing sat there calling her a liar, knowing full well that she knew that Alexis was in on it with the whole Gimbolino thing and that Shannon didn't make it up. But we'll get more into that a little bit later. Jen said in confessional she's known Tamra for a very long time, and Tamra lives for receipts. And she said she's sure that Tamra knew that those text messages existed. Like, this is what makes her thrive. She said she probably kept it a secret because she's such a hater for Shannon right now. She'd rather befriend Alexis and ignore the lawsuit if it meant it was a takedown for Shannon. Gina says it feels like Heather and Tamra are so hypercritical of Shannon and every movement that she makes. Yeah, guys, they are. And you know what? Listen, when I said Jen is my new favorite housewife of Orange County, well, she has taken the place of who used to be my favorite, which was Heather Dubrow. Y'all, I don't know about y'all, but I am so disappointed in Heather. I mean, it started last week. Well, not this Thursday, but the Thursday before last episode, when she brings out the secret. And then there's more of the same. This whole aligning with Tamra, I didn't see that for Heather. I always thought that Heather was, she's fancy pants. She comes with the flair, the money. I never saw with her level of class, or so we thought before, that she would ever think it was a good idea to align herself with Tamra and Tamra's antics. It's surprising to me, but anyway, honey, back over at Tamra and Katie. Tamra tells Katie Shannon's superpower is making people feel sorry for her. And Katie says, well, I do. Tamra says, yeah, that's what she does, plays the victim. And she says she's going to come back to Heather and she's going to think about last night and she's going to come up with a different answer because she twists things. But she told Heather to be prepared. And Heather shows up back over where Emily and Shannon are eating breakfast. She shows up at the room and she says she didn't like how things were left last night. And she knows that Shannon's upset, but she just wanted to come up and talk. So let's just talk. Okay, Heather. I mean, is that fair? I mean, listen, you just straight up betrayed her in front of the girls. And now you want to force your way in the room to talk to her. When you're mad, people have to talk to you on your terms. So I found that to be quite hypocritical. But I digress. Shannon told Heather she was blown away by what she had said last night and said that, you and I had a discussion at the beginning of the year about rebuilding trust. And Heather said, mm-hmm. And she said, when we were in Sonoma, I made it very clear to you that the conversation needed to stay between us. Child, they flashback, and Shannon is crying to Heather, and Heather says, we don't need to bring this to the group. And here's Shannon saying, I appreciate that. And y'all, she did the exact opposite. So, in confessional, Heather says Tamra had already told her the story about John Jansen months ago, so she knew that she'd already told people. But she says that's always what she does. She does that with me. She said that's the exact same thing that happened last year. And y'all, they flash back to the scene at the last reunion where Andy's confronting Shannon saying, look, you had private conversations with this one, that one, and this one. And they flash back to, honey, whatever party there was when they all had them bad wigs on. I was like, whoa. I don't remember the party. I know I watched the episode, but child, those wigs were busted. It was some theme party. But Gina was saying how she'd gone to this one and that one. And then it goes back to the reunion flashback, and Andy says, but it seems like all the blame is going to her, talking about Heather Dubrow. And so Andy says, or Shannon went on, Heather says that Shannon went on a radio show and talked about it. So obviously she can't be upset about it because she's the one that put it out there. I don't know. Now, if you're supposed to be her friend and she asks you to keep it in confidence, then she has every right to be upset about it. So I kind of disagree with that, y'all. Y'all slide in the comments and let me know what you think. No, I'm sorry. I'm trying to adjust this light. I don't know what's going on here. What's going wrong? But that looks a little better. But anyway, Shannon tells her that was a big deal for her to open up to her. And Heather says no, she understood, but she was just trying to be a friend to her. And she's like, I wanted to hug you because you were so upset. But then I see you on Jeff Lewis and you're so flippant about it. And she said, it's just so opposite, Shannon, than the way you were that night. And Shannon's like, no, listen, John Jansen's out there making these statements about me, trying to destroy me, and I have every right to defend myself. And Heather asked her if she thought that maybe like you pay him and he goes away or it dies away. Y'all, how many times are they going to say that? Shannon offered to pay the man. She did. She offered to pay him what he was asking for as long as he signed the non-disparagement clause. He opted not to, and so that's where the lawsuit's coming. So, I mean, what, she did. She offered to pay him. So they need to stop saying that. At any rate, Shannon gets up and goes to the back to get her papers. Heather tells Emily Shannon is like her mom with the papers. She says her mom has lots of papers. Shannon comes back with a handful of papers. She does. And she says, it's the stuff I spend my time doing. Emily says, wait, this doesn't look very organized. And Shannon says, well, this is how I've done it so far. Emily says, are these your receipts? And Shannon says, yes. Shannon has written down on multiple pieces of notebook paper, y'all, everything that, honey, she has spent since the start of their relationship. She says 6 months in that she had already spent $13,411. And she said, and then for family dinners, an additional $618. Y'all, by this time, Heather and Emily are cracking up. They are laughing because Shannon is coming with all these loose leaf notebook paper pieces that she's just jotted down what she spent. So she says, she keeps going because she wants to prove a point. She's like, for airfare, the 4 trips, $13,411. And she's like, this comes up to a total of $60,891.40. Ma'am, she got it down to the penny. That's what I'm talking about, Shannon. What money, right? Like, I owe you money and I'm spending money for these trips and all this stuff. Okay, so Shannon made her point. But Heather and Emily are hysterically laughing, and Shannon said she's glad they find humor in that. Shannon says, I know how to add things on Excel, I do. But Emily in confessional says, Shannon, get your ish together. And Heather says she thought she was coming back like an accounting with files and microfiche. Y'all, they just be coming for Shannon. Even in the lighter moments, it's like she is the butt of all the jokes. One thing is for sure, y'all, I will give Shannon Medore her props. She has most definitely earned her paycheck, y'all. She has carried this season on her back. Listen, these ladies need to be thankful for her because without her, without the DUI, without the lawsuit, I'm just not sure what all, the rest of them will be talking about. I mean, really, Shannon has earned it. And honestly, it has worked out in her favor. I think Shannon has risen through the ranks as definitely a fan favorite this season. Everybody feels bad for what she's been through. So, I still say, and I say it when I do my recaps on Potomac, Karen Huger, you'll learn a lot from Shannon Medore. Okay. She took a bad situation and she's flipping it in her favor because the fans are riding for Shannon Medore, honey. So Emily says this woman is walking around with a notebook that looks like it came out of her kid's backpack. And Heather says this is why even when she's annoyed with Shannon, she can't stay mad at her. And Heather tells Shannon, you can't go to court like that with all these little loose leaf papers. And Emily says, well, actually, she can. If those are her receipts, y'all, those are her receipts. And Shannon has got it down to the penny. And I don't blame her. So, y'all, back over with Gina and Jen. Jen asked Gina, did she hear Heather say that she felt used by Shannon? And Gina was like, yeah. She's like, she felt used? She's like, what did she even have to do with it? And I can answer that question for you guys. Nothing. Nothing at all. Gina says she doesn't know what's going on with Heather. She's like, because honestly, to her, the mammogram thing was a bunch of BS. And Jen was like, yeah, I'm so confused. And they were like, she sent a text saying that she had family history. And they showed the text. The producers put the text up on the screen. And she says this is so important for our health. What a great thing that we're all doing by putting this on TV. But she did tell the ladies that she was not comfortable saying on camera, about the family history. And so Jen's like, she didn't understand what that was about because they were trying to be respectful of her not wanting to speak on her family history on camera. And Gina tells her, yeah, I heard a lot of chatter also going on around about your dress at the tea party. And Jen's like, And she said, yeah, Heather was at Neiman Marcus and called Tamra and said, I just passed Jen's dress and the dress was $2,000. Y'all, that's mean, petty, and low. Like, seriously, they don't have nothing better to do than to worry about the price tag of somebody's dress. I really think the thing with Jen, they have taken it way too far. Okay. I mean, so she doesn't have money. She's going through a divorce. She won't be the first, but she is with a man, however he gets it, y'all, that does have money. Like, why is it such a big deal? And a $2,000 dress, if he can afford it, particularly with Heather, that's surprising, y'all. Heather has really done a shift, and I am very, very, very surprised at Heather Dubrow. I really am. I don't know strategically even why she's doing this, but at any rate, they flash to the van when Heather is telling the ladies or telling Tamra about the 2000 dress also, and Emily's like, I wouldn't spend that kind of money if I couldn't afford to pay my rent or pay a car payment. And Gina said Heather wanted to know why she's wearing a $2,000 Dolce & Gabbana dress if she's having financial issues. And Jen's like, this is such BS. And y'all, you can start seeing now because, when we get to that little snippet I showed you toward the end of the show, it's just been a buildup for Jen. I think Jen is starting to learn about these ladies. And maybe she was a little naive at first, but child, that's about to change. So Jen says in confessional that you start learning who people are when you spend a lot of time with them. And she said she never had viewed Heather before as a two-faced, manipulative person, but going behind her back and talking about her dress has her thinking that maybe she's a bit more two-faced than she thought. You think? Yeah. So guys, back over to Tamra and Katie. Tamra says, do you realize that dress that Jen had on at the tea party was $2,000? Here we go again with the dress, y'all. Katie says, yeah. Tamra says, you don't get $6,000 a month and spend $2,000 on a dress. Sure you do if you want to. It's your business. I mean, Katie says, so the morning of the tea party, she calls me. Y'all, I didn't like this either. Here comes Katie. Now, Jen is supposed to be her really good friend, but she's telling Tamra that morning of the tea party, she called and she told her that she'd bought the Dolce & Gabbana dress and that it was really expensive and that she was thinking maybe she would just return it. But apparently she called Ryan and Ryan was like, look, you can wear it to your nephew's wedding and, you can get multiple uses of it. And so Katie says she thinks that maybe Ryan bought the dress. And then, y'all, Tamra fakely says how concerned she is for her because she's a single mom. And if things don't work out between her and Ryan, she says, which sounds like there's already some stress in the household with the FBI. Y'all, that is Tamra's hope. I mean, Jen gets into it and we'll talk about it, but Tamra is obviously, in my opinion, extremely jealous of Jen. And I'm not so sure that it's not just because Jen looks younger and better. I think she might be checking for Ryan a little bit. I mean, she's going out of her way to make him look bad. I mean, she tried it last season. It didn't work. They're still together. They're happy. Jen has this issue, with not being able to stay in the place that she was renting. And Ryan swoops in and saves the day. And they seem happy as can be. And I think, y'all, it is tearing Tamra up. And listen, now, I don't know, but I'm hearing in those Bravo streets that there may be trouble in paradise for Tamra and Eddie. So maybe little Miss Tamra that was so busy worrying about Jen and Ryan should have been worrying about her and Eddie. But you know what, y'all? And you guys slide in the comments and let me know what you think. I'm wondering because now last week I told you guys about her coming up with her diagnosis of being on the spectrum when she was talking to Teddy on their podcast. Well, she got some backlash for that and she pulled back on that. And like I said, I'm not saying, I'm not a doctor. I'm not talking against someone's diagnosis. But I just said that it was a very convenient time for that information to come out because she is getting torn up by the fans. The way that she's acting this season towards Shannon did not play well for her. And now, y'all, this week it seems to have come out, or it's alleged or teased that there may be trouble in paradise between her and Eddie. So, y'all let me know in the comments. Do you think it's possible that Tamra's putting out there that her and Eddie may be splitting up for a storyline? Because there was an article just days before where Eddie was, defending Tamra, saying that he was not going anywhere when one of the fans had said they felt sorry for Eddie and how he puts up with Tamra. And he was saying that Tamra was not that way off camera, that he loved Tamra, he supported her, and he wasn't going anywhere. So I don't know how you go from that to this, unless that's just my opinion. Y'all let me know what you think. So anyway, Katie said, so we're talking about the $2,000 dress and how Tamra fake lies and says that she's concerned about Jen with Ryan maybe possibly being in some mess. And Katie said, oh, wait, we haven't talked about this actually. And Tamra's like, oh, I probably shouldn't say anything, but she is, y'all. And she tells Katie that his business partner is a guy that's a bookie and the FBI is investigating. And Tamra says, you see Ryan and Jen in the past consistently going to the Bahamas or going to Vegas on private jets. And she says that's because the casino was sending those private jets to fly them out to gamble. And Katie said, oh, wait, she's going to the Bahamas after this. Katie, stop telling Tamra Jen's business. Come on now. I like you, sis. Chill. But Tamra says they go to the Bahamas like every week. And Katie in confessional says the conflict around Ryan bothers her because she sat in the same place that Jen has sat. She was like, you get to the point, you just trust your partner, and then you get smacked with all these things. And people are like, are you an idiot? And you're like, yeah, I guess I was. Katie says the only thing she's learned is you always have to have a plan B. Tamra says she just wants her to be smart if something were to happen to him or if he was to get in any kind of trouble. She's like, where would she go? Back over to Gina and Jen. And Gina asks, how are you with Tamra? And Jen says, it's crap. Gina says, you know what? You're with Ryan. Ryan is stepping up for you. He's helping you navigate through. He's really taking care of you. Jen says, yeah, she has no accountability or capability to be an actual friend. And if you guys don't think she runs her mouth about every one of you, Gina says, oh, I'm aware. But y'all, I don't think they were as aware as maybe they should be. Because Jen's like, listen, y'all need to know the real Tamra. And it's not just one-sided towards Shannon either. But you would think in seasons past, particularly Heather, that's what I don't get. Because, y'all, last season, it was take Heather to bro down season. And Tamra was at the forefront of that too. I don't know how she keeps getting away with it all, or how they are so quick to forget how she is. I don't get it. I really don't get it. So Jen in confessional says she does not have the friendship with Tamra that she thought she did. And letting this woman railroad her over and over and give her these blanket apologies, she says she keeps accepting them. Like, at what point is she the idiot? And Jen says it just doesn't make sense to her. And Gina says, yeah, it's not good. So y'all, then the ladies decide to all meet in the lobby of the hotel. And Shannon has come down. She's got her purple robe on and tiaras for everybody. And she says she's still upset with everybody, but it's her birthday and she's going to have some fun. So, you know, the whole thing. She's still the Duchess of Corona Del Mar. And the ladies are her ladies in waiting. And so she goes to give everybody tiaras and red robes. And of course, Tamra decides she's not going to wear a tiara. Not going to be a good sport, y'all. Still going to be nasty and claim she has a rather large head, which I will give you that. You do that. And then she had extensions in. So everybody else is a good sport, wears the tiaras because it's Shannon's birthday. And anyway, the ladies go on a double-decker bus and they take a tour. Everybody's having a good time except for stupid Tamra. And then Gina decides to confront Heather. And she says, you know what? Last night when she went to bed, the whole mammogram thing, she said, I just don't get it. And Heather sits back and very smugly, might I add, y'all, says, what don't you get? And she said, obviously, we feel bad for you about your point of view and how you felt that day. But before we even went there, you had texted us and said you didn't want to talk about it. And she's like, well, yeah, I can't tell my family history. That's their personal medical information. But she said, I was happy to discuss me. Shannon says, all of us felt horrible about it. We just assumed that everything was fine. Because if it wasn't, we would have heard. And we heard the cheering and a flashback. And y'all, it was Gina that was cheering yay. But they didn't know that. And Jen and Shannon were out there on the couch. And so Heather said, oh, yeah. She was like, I'm sorry. Heather goes, look, we keep couching this about what I texted you or how you felt about it. But 4 girls were sitting in a room and not one of you turned to me and nothing changes. That one moment, and that is what I was upset about. And Gina said, if it meant that much to you, then why did you hold on to it? Heather was like, oh, wait a minute. You're the one that brought it up today. I was done with it. But I know, y'all, that's not what Gina meant. She meant if Heather was so upset about it since the day of the mammogram, then why did she wait until they were on the trip to bring it up? So Gina says, at this point, I'm affected by it. And Heather says, that's your problem. And Gina says, why now? There's a comeback in a way that she's made her feel like she was not being a good enough friend. And Heather says, because it seems like you're angry at me about it. And Gina's like, I'm not angry about it. I'm trying to figure out how to be a good friend to you. And she said she feels like her expectations of her are a lot. Heather's like, oh, I'm sorry. So my expectations of you shouldn't be, as my friend, to not call a girl out that's coming after me and say, cool, it's fine. Katie was like, oh, yeah, she's talking about me. Yeah, Katie, she's still not over it. Sorry. No. So they flash back to the scene of Gina telling, Katie telling Gina and Emily about her friend and the whole paparazzi thing, y'all. And don't you think Heather said that it would be a good expectation of her to expect her good friend to not, hold on to that kind of information? And then Gina says, look, it goes both ways. She tells her, what about the time when she was sitting on Watch What Happens Live with Andy Cohen and he made a comment about my home? She was like, I would have expected you to defend me on that. Y'all, they flash back to that shady moment when they had the shady well ask Heather, which of the castmates we would get the least amount of money if they sold their home. But it honestly was Andy that said, I would think it's probably Gina. Heather didn't say it. She just kind of sat there and smiled, but she didn't say it. Andy said it. And Heather says, look, I haven't been to everyone's home. This is her response. And Heather said, well, what did you want me to say in that moment? She was like, look, if Emily was up there, Emily would have defended me. And Emily, of course not. It's like, yeah. And Heather said, well, you should have told me because when I'm upset about something, I tell you. And Gina says, yeah, I get that. But in confessional, Heather says, what is Gina's problem with me? Everything that she said on Watch What Happens Live was true. Shade, y'all. She's like, if it was a different kind of interview, I would have expanded more on it. But she said, afterwards, she texted her. She commented on her post and Gina hearted it. So I guess she assumed everything was fine. And so at this point, y'all, Gina is still trying to explain to Heather what the issue is. And she said, look, Heather's like, I'm exhausted. And in confessional, Gina says she's just worked very hard to get to the place that she's at. And she's very proud of it. So when other people come in and make her feel bad, it does become an insecurity for her. So, I mean, yeah, Gina, out of all the ladies, which is why I thought it was so crazy that she went so hard at Jen in the beginning of the season, because she too, had to downsize after her divorce. She was living in that casita, and then in her tiny house that Shannon called tiny. She didn't have the means that all the other ladies had either. So that's one of the reasons why everybody was like, Gina, seriously, why do you come so hard for Jen when you know what it's like to have to start over and to struggle financially and to have to, yeah, you did work, get your real estate license and you're getting yourself in a better situation. But you would have thought back then at the beginning of the season, she would have given her a little more grace. We've already debated that. So at this point, honey, Heather DeBro is bored and she's like, when does the shopping start? So Gina says Heather's supposed to be her friend and she's supposed to ride for her harder. But she tells Emily as she's getting off the bus that she's not bringing up anything else anymore. She was done and it's a waste of her effing time. Heather and Tamra are still on the bus and she's like, what was I supposed to say? They go, who's the cheapest house? Who's got the cheapest house in the group? And she goes, I'm not answering that. That's mean. She's like, how could I stand up for her? So basically she's saying, I mean, in the moment, it just kind of happened and it didn't give her a lot of room to kind of say anything because Andy is the one that said it. So I get it. I get it. Moving on, y'all. Heather and Tamra, I'm sorry. Gina, Emily, and Shannon are walking through this market type area and they're out getting food and they get some French fries from a place. And you have Katie, Tamra, and Heather. They go into a famous chocolatier store that the Queen used to shop at. And, the takeaway from there is, they have so many fancy, cool chocolates. And Heather asked, should we get something for the Duchess? Meaning Heather. And, of course, Tamara's like, no. Ridiculous, y'all. Back over Shannon, Emily, Jen, and Gina. Shannon lets the guys know behind the counter that she's the Duchess of Corona Del Mar, y'all. That was her thing. She got her a funnel waffle, and at this point, Gina stops to she calls him Trav Daddy, his little shaving stuff. So I guess at this point, we get the inclination she's still with Travis. They're still working it out. And Shannon decides at this point that she wants to have a photo taken, an old-time photo, and they're all going to dress up in the Tudor style. And so they leave Jen to pick out their outfits while they go to the restroom. And Jen is like, let's do a sexy Tudor. So Emily picks out the corset for Emily. She says because Emily's hot. She gets Gina the maiden because she says Gina's, fierce and she's up and coming. And she gives Shannon the queen because, it's her birthday. She's the queen. And y'all, I love this line. She said because of her big D energy, she gonna be the king, honey. Yes, Jen. Like I said, honey, on this episode, Jen has completely arrived, y'all. So the ladies come back and then they ask if she picked out the outfits. And she's like, yeah, I took care of all of y'all. So they're all getting their outfits together. And so then Jen asked Gina how she felt about the whole thing that happened on the bus. And she said, it just feels like, and Emily finished her sentence. She says, very harsh. And Shannon says she thinks Tamra is very harsh. And Gina's like, yeah. And together, they're literally the worst. Because, yeah, guys, as you see, Tamra and Heather are now this evil dynamic duo we did not need. And so, yeah, they're running havoc on the ladies. And back over, y'all, with Heather, Katie, and Tamra, they're at Anne Fontaine. And Heather says to Tamra, y'all, this was mean. She was like, you know what's funny? Gina says it's this Anne Fontaine. And Tamra was like, how would she even know? And she was like, they're in SoCo now. And she's like, Gina knows. And Heather and them all laugh. It's just like, Heather, I don't know, y'all. Maybe I was naive, but I really thought Heather was more mature. It is giving middle school mean girl. It is giving, not the Heather Dubrow that I thought, y'all. I guess she's back in the club now. Yeah, she was kind of outcasted last season. And y'all, she's hopping right on the bandwagon. And it's not a good look, Heather, at all. But back over at the old time photo shoot, Gina says she's at the point where she's just here to have fun. She's not going to bring up anything else. She's not going to communicate her feelings. And Gina says that Heather is like a control freak, that she decides when she's allowed to have feelings and how long she's allowed to have feelings. And yet she can have feelings about everything and hold on to them till the end of the world if she wants to. And, at this point, they get interrupted and, they've got their costumes on and they get ready to pose for the photo. And they all get their most privileged look and snap the picture. So Shannon tells Jen that she had breakfast with Heather. And she tells her that, you come at me and you make it about you. And she's like, Heather said, oh, well, but you lied. So there's no remorse there, y'all. Like I said, Heather's aligning herself up with the biggest villain of the season. At first, we thought Emily was being her protege. And now it seems like Heather's jumped on the bandwagon. I don't know what is going on here, y'all, this season. It's like the season of the Mean Girls. It is a lot. It's a lot. And like I've said before, I'm not a huge Shannon Bedore fan, but look, I'd be remiss if I did not say I do not like to watch someone beat someone down while they're already down. And Tamra has been awful. I mean, now Heather's on the bandwagon. Listen, Gina says it's like Tamra and Heather are having these conversations between themselves, and somehow they all are being crapped on. And she reminds Jen how Heather was at Neiman Marcus and picking up the phone to Tamra just to crap all over her too. And Shannon wants to know, wait a minute, I didn't hear the story. What are y'all talking about? And Jen tells her, apparently Heather strolled past my dress that I had on at your birthday party and checked the price tag. And because I'm such a broke person, she had to call Tamra and ask how in the hell I can afford that dress and why am I spending money on a dress for a party. And she's like, I just feel like it's very, very crappy and very low. And if you ask me, Gina says, yep, all they do is talk about you behind your back. And Jen says, shocker. Shannon says, you know what? At this point, because Shannon is starting to get heated, she was like, we need to everybody should focus on themselves and not each other. So y'all, at this point, the ladies are getting ready now for dinner. And yes, y'all, yes, Emily, yes, Gina, Jen is in glam. And Heather decides when they get to dinner, of course, y'all, to order none other than what? An espresso martini. Y'all, that is the drink of the season. I mean, Heather was a champs girl, and now it's all about that espresso martini. And she goes ahead and tells Tamra, you're going to have one too, which of course, birds of the feather, And then Emily, she's going to co-sign and hop on and get her one too. Katie gets her a dirty martini and Shannon gets her, well, you guessed it, the Belvedere and soda. At least this time, y'all, they didn't give her a problem with it. They're letting her live on her birthday. They're letting her have her drink and no one is really giving her a hard time too much. And they come in with the drinks, and here comes Emily now. Y'all remember, she's so upset about feeling like the big girl, but what did she say? They all get their espresso martinis, and they're in a rather small glass. And she was like, what is this? She was like, no, you need to give me the big girl martini in the big glass. Leave the little ones to them. All right, Emily, you're the one that said big girl. Here you go. Now, just the past, 3 episodes, we've heard you cry and act crazy over the fact that you had on a size 12 dress. That's why I said, y'all, I don't understand her antics. She's brushing her teeth with Dr. Pepper. She's eating sandwiches in a sauna. She's, peeing on the ground in the grass at Katie's house. She's at this episode, you see her in a bodysuit and asking them to help her snap it so she can pee. I mean, it's a lot of antics for somebody that seems to have body image issues. But whatever. So, y'all, at this point, Emily is not happy. Oh, I told you about that. So Gina decides at the table to say that though some of them have had their bumps on the road, it's nice that everybody can sit together around the table and celebrate. So they all cheers. And Tamra asks Shannon what her girls are doing. Shannon lets her guard down and she says they're in Paris, but they were going to take the train in the morning over there to her and they were going to go do something together and that they may pop back into the hotel to say hi to everybody. And y'all, honey, Jen is still on that dress, child. She comes in hot and she's like, Heather, I have a question for you. And Heather says, yeah, what's up? And she's like, was my dress at the tea party a problem for you? And Heather's like, no. She said, well, did you call Tamra and talk about the price of my dress and what I wore? And she was like, oh, yeah. I was at Neiman Marcus and I called Tamra. And Jen's like, oh my gosh. You had to say, how did she just buy a $2,000 dress? And Heather was caught, y'all. And she was like, yeah. And Jen's like, why, Heather? And she said, well, you said that you were only getting $6,000 a month. And I was worried for you. Gina looks at Shannon and says, that's BS. And in the confessional, Gina says she knows she just got caught in a big way. Now she's like, let me apologize because now I got caught in my bad behavior. But she doesn't care. And honestly, they're probably going to leave this dinner table and talk about her dress again. True tea. Like I said, I was a Heather fan, but Gina, I see no lies there. Tamra chimes in and says that Heather was saying, I don't want her to feel like she has to be wearing $2,000 dresses. And Jen interrupts and says, no, that was a problem last year. And y'all, they go to the scene. Apparently last season, Jen was buying fake stuff. There's Tamra there talking about her fake Chanel. And Tamra's making fun saying that, she's got a Fennel, a Fendi, and a Fucci. And then, Jen comes back and says, Heather, you walk around head to toe constantly in designer. And Tamra's like, yeah, but she's got money. And Jen's like, so what? And at this point, Heather says, this is ridiculous. This is none of anyone's business. And Emily's like, Ryan bought the dress. Nobody asked you, Emily. And that's another thing, y'all. I used to like Emily too. But she is messy. And any chance she gets a chance to interject herself in conversations or to make it a little more shady or to make sure that the person has the moment to be shady, she will do so. And she says, Emily in confessional says, Jen always wants to portray herself as living this very high lifestyle when she doesn't have a job or income and doesn't know what her boyfriend does for a living. And Emily says she thinks that's sad because that's a woman trying to be something she's not. No, y'all. What's sad is these people are supposed to be your friends and they talk so much about you. I mean, look, if her man wants to buy her a $2,000 dress, that's her business. I don't know why these women are so bothered. I mean, if you got it, you got it. Why are you worried about what somebody else has? Y'all, Jen says, this is my point. If there's something that's a thing for you, tell me, Heather. And she says, you know what? I should have called you. And then she's like, I apologize. She's like, I'm not perfect. I'm not a perfect human. Yeah. Really, Heather? And she says, I would never want you to feel bad, so I'm sorry. She's like, if I made you feel bad, I'm very, very sorry. And Jen says, thank you. And then Jen looks at Tamra and she says, I don't know where to go with you. Tamra said, well, we've been doing good. Jen says, you and I keep getting into this pattern. So we're close and then you go ballistic on me. And Tamara's like, I've not gone ballistic on you. Child, then they flash back to all the times of Tamara going ballistic, screaming, throwing napkins at the girl, all kinds of mess. And Jen's like, yeah, well, what happened in Katie's? And she's like, well, that was between me and Ryan. And she said, Ryan has nothing to do with his friend's business. And Tamara's like, I hope not, because that's scary. Jen says, I feel like within the women, you definitely want them to know that I have a piece of ish of a man. He's a playboy. And, he F's people, whatever. And she was like, it's just maybe have you considered that he's different? And just be happy for her, just be happy for me. And she was like, do you not realize how that hurts me? That's my partner. And Tamara's like, okay, I apologize. I'm sorry for bringing up the FBI stuff, the stuff that was swirling around. Jen says, it matters to me. And Tamara says, well, she just needed to get it out. And she said she did it in a way that she didn't think about, and it wasn't the right way. And in confessional, she says, Gina says, bless this girl's heart. How many times is this girl going to get walloped upside the head before she starts to wear a helmet or something? Tamara apologizes again. So I guess Shannon thinks, well, since we're, bringing things up and we're getting apologies, she confronts Tamara and she's like, I've got something to ask you. And she said, she was talking to Gina and she brought up the text from 2018 where Alexis admits that she was suing us and that we would be hearing from their attorney. And Shannon said she was surprised that when she sent that she didn't tell anyone in the group. Like, wow, Alexis did actually start that lawsuit. And Tamara, all flippantly said, well, that's between you and her. And Emily was like, yeah, but if you apply this scrutiny to Shannon and everything that she does, then, the same should be applied to Alexis. Excuse me, y'all. Because she's not perfect. And Emily in confessional says she's very confused as to why Tamara and Heather are constantly team Alexis. She was like, they give her a free pass on everything while they hold Shannon to the fire on everything. And Shannon says, you seem to just want to point out that I lie or that I do this. Please stop talking about me. Tamara's like, okay, stop talking about me. And Shannon was like, okay, did I say you have a huge ego? Yes, I did. And Tamara's like, listen, I'm not the one that has such a big ego that I had to pay $75,000 for a facelift because I don't want to look bad. And at this point, y'all, Shannon says that's just cruel. Tamara says, well, tells her she just needs to shut up. Child, and then it's the back and forth where Tamara's putting her hand up and she's like, don't you put your hand up with me? And she's putting her hand up and she's like, bye to Shannon. And Shannon's like, wait a minute. Wait a minute. No, maybe this is you bye because this is my birthday trip. I know that's right. But honey, the difference is instead of getting up and going to the restroom, I'd have broke the fourth wall and been like, producers, could you escort that thing out of my birthday dinner scene? It can be done, y'all. I don't know if y'all watch Married to Medicine, but they shorted Al's quad right out of the island. So I'm just saying, if it's a consensus or if it's Shannon's trip, bye. So she said she does not know what Tamara's motivations are, but she says she does know one thing is for sure. It seems to be her plan to ruin her trip. And she says right now she's batting 100. And, she's confused. She's like, is that what it's called? And she's like, at this point, she's like, at least she can say that she can check that box. Emily and Heather follow Shannon to the bathroom, and Shannon says that she's setting boundaries for herself, and she doesn't need to sit there and get verbally abused. I agree, Shannon. Shannon says Tamara's main goal is obvious, and it's to hurt her. I agree. So, yeah, don't try to make up with her. And y'all, now, I did want to let y'all know when I do the reunion recap, I'm going to be joined by a Bravo bestie that I met. His name is Joseph. He's going to be on here and we're going to talk all things reunion. But I'm going to tell y'all right now, if on that reunion, part 1, 2, or 3, I see Shannon give Tamara another chance, y'all, mad is not even going to remotely describe the feeling that I will be having. Okay. So Tamra's back at the table. She's saying, look, I'm over this victim act. And both of them at this point, you see them side by side in the camera in unison say that they're both done and they've had it. So at this point, y'all, the ladies go back to the hotel and they're hanging out at the bar. Now, this is when I really wanted to be like, Emily, you can exit stage left. Y'all, here she goes. It's like, is there just a spirit of Mean Girl just running through the group rampantly? Because they're all together and Emily's like, let's come up with this game. She wanted each one of the ladies to text their man and say something and all text them at the same time to see their response. And she came up with them all texting them, I'm naked. Well, we all know that Shannon doesn't have a man. So when you have a group of ladies that all have husbands, boyfriends, and you're single, that was mean. And Shannon excuses herself and says she's got to go to bed anyway because she's going to meet her daughters. And y'all in confessional, Emily's like, oh, I wasn't trying to exclude her. I mean, like, she could text Archie. Okay, Emily, keep on. Keep on. I'm just saying. I mean, you was just crying a couple episodes about being a size 12. Now, you don't want nobody to talk about you. You don't want to feel bad. You don't want to feel exposed. But yet you want to constantly be the mean girl. What goes around comes around. Y'all, when they decide, Shannon goes to bed. The ladies decide they want to stay up and have a little more fun. Y'all, here we go again with the trash bag behavior of Tamra running through the hallway of that nice, 5-star hotel, ringing doorbells. Y'all, really? And anyway, honey, they stay up and all that little antics. They're dancing, acting a fool, y'all. That's all that was given. But y'all, the next morning, y'all, it's 11:30 in the morning. Everybody's kind of feeling rough because different ones say they've stayed up till 4 o'clock in the morning, different times, what have you. And you see Tamra. Woo, y'all. Can we just talk about how rough Tamra looked? Woo. But she says she's tired. Her and Heather are getting up. And Tamra's still talking about Shannon, saying she's got that victim mentality. And Jen and Emily are recovering also. They were up till 4 in the morning. So Gina and Shannon go to Jen's room. And Jen asks Shannon how she's doing, if she's okay. And Jen says she feels like they keep repeating that same thing with her. And Shannon says, yes, it's a pattern. And she's had to deal with it for 10 years with Tamra. She says, we argue. Then Tamra says, I love you. I miss you. But she says she doesn't. She doesn't love her. And she's like, she talks about it whenever she can. And Shannon says she's cruel. And Jen says, yeah, that is very cruel. Emily and Tamra are out and about. And they go to a juice bar because, y'all, they are still having problems going to the bathroom, child. It's that travel lockup, I guess, honey. So Emily orders her juice and, with extra cleanse. So at this point, they're talking. And Emily is saying that, maybe Tamra could be the bigger person. Emily in confessional says she doesn't understand why Tamra's level of anger is with Shannon. She's like, she just constantly berates her. She's like, there's no compassion. She's like, they go to a scene where she bends down to the pigeon and she's like, asking the pigeon, should she be the bigger person? Child, it was stupid. Anyway, it was giving that Emily was trying to intervene. And she did say also in confessional that she gets the point of being disappointed because of her DUI. And she's like, she can even have the opinion that she shouldn't drink, that she should be sober. All that may be valid. But to continually berate her and hurt her, yeah, it's a bad look, y'all. And so, it's what we've all been saying all season, right? But back over to the room, honey. Shannon, Jen, and Gina. Shannon said, it really bothers me that Tamra will have conversations behind your back and bring up topics that could really damage you and your boyfriend. She said, and I know that she's texting me stuff. So she looked back on her phone. She's like, I looked back on my phone last night and she said, She shows Jen what she has. And she says, this is from Tamra. And Jen is looking at it and really studying it, y'all. And then you start to see a shift in Jen. And Shannon says, yes, this is from September of 2022. And in confessional, Shannon says, look, I am so tired of Tamra saying that she does certain things, that I do certain things when she does them. And she says she thinks it's important that she understands, talking about Jen, how Tamra works behind everyone's back. This is just what she does. She tells Jen someone sent her some stuff about Ryan. And then she said, and Shannon reads, I'm asking my friend's husband if he can do a background check. And then she texted her evidence of the background check. Jen is getting heated, and she was like, what the F is wrong with her? And Shannon says, don't stoop to this level because that's not who we are. And Gina says, this is exactly who we are at this point. And Jenna's like, this is really weird. She's like, it's not even just weird, it's like obsessive. Gina says, yeah. And she says, it's like boil a effing rabbit in the pot because it's giving single white female. And y'all, I'm going to have to agree with her. Gina says it is creepy. And Jen says Tamra has no soul. It's like she's going to dinner with a bomb waiting for it to explode. And Jen says that she has to use all their lives to make herself relevant because when you look at her life, it's just boring. Jen gets up and says it's not right, and she doesn't know why she even gives her an ounce of her time because she is such a better person than she'll ever be. She said, I would rather have my little bank account and my happy kids who love me and a man who supports me than that low-level BS like her. If she thinks she's going to come in and ruin my family, she is trash. Literal effing trash. Jen excuses herself, y'all. And this is when it goes down. Listen, Jen knocks on that door, honey, breaks fourth wall, producers in tow. She walks in that room like a boss. I mean, she has her arms crossed. And she walks right up to Tamra, who's sitting in the chair looking rough, getting her hair done. She tells the hairstylist, can you turn that off, please? And she's talking about the hair dryer. Honey, you can see Heather's face. Heather knows that Jen is not here to come play games, y'all. Jen is heated, okay? And she was like, you did an effing background check on Ryan? And Tamara was like, no. What are you talking about? Jen said, you did. And Tamara was like, I swear to God, on my kid's life, I did not. Jen says, nope, I just saw it with my own eyes. Y'all, how about she swearing on her kid's life? And she sure did it. And Tamara's like, a background check? Jen says, and this is what I don't understand with you. You want to go on and talk about my fake stuff? Tamara's like, what are you talking about? Jen this time bends down, honey, to her level because she's sitting in a chair. And she says, you did a background check on Ryan. And Tamara's like, show it to me. She's like, oh, I already saw it. She said, you don't get to do this anymore. You're throwing around FBI. You're throwing around all this stuff. Y'all, and then that's when Tamra starts clapping. And Jen's like, F you. Tamara's like, that's not what happened, but okay. Y'all, Heather tries to interject. She's like, Jen, let her talk. And Jen's like, I am not going to let her talk. She effing knows. And then Tamra says, oh my God, this is like 2 years ago. So ironically, she remembers what Jen's talking about now after she swore on her kids, okay? And swore to God. Jen says, why? And then Tamra starts yelling. It wasn't a background check. I've never done a background check in my life. Jen says in confessional, Tamra constantly says people should take accountability. She says, you know what, Tamra? You should take accountability for the damage you caused. You should take accountability for the people that you hurt. You take accountability for your actions. Right on, Jen. She then recites what she saw on Shannon's text and says, it says, I'm having my friend do a background check on Ryan. Tamra gets up and says, it is not like I got a private investigator. He was a real estate guy. Jen was like, why do you care? I mean, at this point, y'all, Jen was eating Tamra up. I mean, eating her up. Quite frankly, you can see Tamra didn't know what to do with herself. That whole clapping thing was because really she did not want that smoke because Jen was mad, y'all. And all this big bad Tamra was called guard, and Tamra really did not want that smoke with Jen. Y'all slide in my comments and let me know what you thought. But honey, Jen was coming in not playing. She's like, okay, what does Eddie do? What does Eddie do? And she said, like, well, he's got a multi-million-dollar business. Jen says, do I give a shit? I don't care what Eddie does. Tamra says, well, why are you asking? Why are you asking? And she says, do I need to go digging around? And she's like, why do you? And Tamra starts clapping again. And she's like, why are you clapping? And Tamra says, because you're using your voice. I'm so happy for you. She's like, you don't want to listen. You want to yell. And Jen's like, F you. And Heather says, I didn't even know Jen could speak that loud in confessional, y'all. And she said, it was sort of impressive. Impressive it was, y'all. I was living for it, y'all. I was in my room, posted up on my bed, getting my entire life on Thursday night on this scene. I was yelling at the TV. Jen did that. Basically, y'all, they go back and forth a little more. Pretty much at this point, Tamra's like telling her that, she got this guy to see if he was really a licensed mortgage broker. And Jen just makes her look stupid. Like, look, why do you care? She was like, your obsession is actually weird. It's effing weird. And Tamra's like, okay. Jen's like, okay. And Tamra's like, my obsession is weird because I asked if he was licensed in real estate. And Jen's like, okay. And she said, yeah, it's that simple. It's that simple. She was like, I have my friend doing a background check. Ryan's being investigated by the FBI. She's like, it's weird. You're weird. All the stuff she's doing. And then Tamra does her typical scream. She's like, it's all over the internet. And Jen's like, I'm effing done with your low-level BS. Bye, Tamra. Tamra's like, bye. They're like, bye. And Heather's like, oh, come on, Jen. Don't walk out. Tamra's like, this is so stupid, honey, because she thought Jen had left. Nope. Jen comes back. And she's like, no, you need to effing grow up and leave my effing family alone. And Tamra's like, okay. She said, I've just moved into that man's house. My kids are good. My effing kids are with me and good and happy. Leave me the F alone. I want no part of your effing BS. You attack everyone. She said, the only reason, Heather, she's not effing, that she's even your friend is because you're in front of her right now. She said, Tamra, you talked about everyone behind their back. Tamra's like, so do you. She said, actually, no, I don't. I'm a better effing person than you'll ever be. Tamra's like, okay. And they both were like, bye. Honey, she walks out and she walks down that hall and she's like, you effing be. But y'all, listen, Jen has solidified herself. I guarantee you, Tamra will think twice. She tried to be shady in confessional, saying next time Shannon 6 Jen on her, she needs to send somebody with half a brain. No, ma'am. Not only did she have her brain and all of her mental intact, she put a hurting on you. You didn't know what to do with Jen. You don't want none of that smoke. Y'all, it was good to me. And did y'all catch that tea when she said how, my kids are with me. They are good. They love me. Listen, touche. She got you all the way together, Tamra, and it's high time. And now I'm clapping. I'm clapping for you, Jen, y'all. That was the scene. That's how it ended, y'all. It was a great episode. I am here for it. I cannot wait for the reunion. I cannot wait to have Joseph on. Me and him are going to chop it up. I don't know if they're going to be 3 parts. I'm assuming. But y'all, I guess we have another couple episodes before we get to the reunion. But listen, y'all, I was here for it. Y'all let me know what you thought in the comments. Go ahead and slide in. Let me know. Y'all, I will be back tomorrow with Big Nige, and I will be doing 90 Day the Other Way. Thursday, we're dropping the interview with Carolyn Leak of the Design Your Wealth Mindset series. This one's all on procrastination and time management, so you don't want to miss it. And y'all, we've got on the 29th, the extra special crossover episode that I'm doing with Sins and Survivors podcast, where we're going to be talking about the Ghost Adventures reality stars, Mark and Debbie Constantino, that tragically lost their life. It was a murder-suicide, y'all. And there's a lot to unpack in that story. We have Janice Oberding on. She wrote the book, Demon Song, about the couple. Y'all, I'm sorry, I'm losing my voice. If I have a voice, I'll be back on tomorrow. But at any rate, y'all, it's a great interview. So you want to be here for that on October 29th. So guys, thanks for tuning in as always. I'll be back. Thanks for your support. Don't forget to like, go ahead and slide in the comments, subscribe and share, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.